Okay, this video is not going to be like usual videos. I'm not going to be jumping between the main screen and my camera and back and forth. There's going to be less editing. I'm going to be a bit more upfront and real because although some of my videos were uploaded last month and the month before, I actually haven't recorded a video since September. I haven't tweeted since like August. I just scheduled everything to go out in advance. The same thing with YouTube. The same thing with, emails, but some emails are kind of sent out in the moment. So I actually really haven't been online for a while, and I want to go through what I've learned when it comes to editing and where editing is going to be. So if we just take a look here, we're going to be going over what works with editing, what doesn't work anymore, what to do, how to survive, and also if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably want to know where I've been, what I'm doing, why the fuck can't I stay consistent, and what I'm going to do about that, because don't worry, I am going to do something about that. So yeah, I just want to kind of go over this pretty quickly. We're going to be going over wins and losses. We're going to be going over my plans, things that I've learned and reflected on, and what works with editing. And we're also going to go through a worksheet that you can use later on. It is going to be in the description for you to take, but one thing that I would recommend is that you probably wait until we get there first. And yeah, I also have 3 things that I kind of want to cover before we jump into this. Number 1, I'm not here to sell you anything. I am mostly just here because I've been avoiding recording for a while. I've been, having all of these silly thoughts about how I look, if I'm pale, if I've probably gained a few pounds, which by the looks of my camera, yes to both of those. I do look pale and I probably have gained a few. And you can see my hair is longer than it was in this picture, you can see, right? And this was only maybe a couple months ago, and that's when I last recorded videos. So yeah, and I just want to be honest because I've been probably a little less honest with you this later this year, and I just want to get some feedback, right? I just want to get some actual tangible feedback from you guys so I can improve these videos. And of course, I'm going to be going through what did work this year, what didn't work, what will work, and what I'm doing right now. Or at least when it comes to what will work, what I think will work, right? Because I've known to make the incorrect predictions before. And yeah. So I think the best thing that happened to me this year was going to America. It was a bit of a so-and-so trip. America was weird. I felt lethargic. No offense to you Americans. You guys have some weird food and some weird houses, right? I slept in a paper house. But I'm not going to debate into that because America was actually lovely. It was a lot of sun, which I could definitely do with. I got to meet my friends. Got to meet some cool YouTubers, and some very cool people like this man right here. If you know, you know. And also, just some awesome results from the work that I've been doing this year. Again, I must remind you, I'm not here to sell you on anything, but this has been like the number 1 thing that I've been working on this year, and I'm really proud of the results because I know I definitely spent way too much time on it. So if I didn't get the results from that, I would be thoroughly upset. That would have been 2 years wasted. So yeah. So out of all of these, we're obviously going to start with the wins and losses. So I'm going to start with the losses first, and that is new business model was a learning curve. Now, I've actually quit editing. Let me kind of slow down because that sounds pretty big. I still pick up a project every now and then. I still, practice edit every now and then. I still like to play with the software. I still keep up to date with everything going on in editing and editors. And I also understand that a lot of people probably won't be happy with the idea of me not editing, despite, talking about editing and helping editors and making videos about editing. But, I'm not afraid to admit that I stopped editing full time this year because, I feel like I best serve and help people when I'm, going one-to-one looking at their problems because, all of the problems that I had with the software and stuff and, getting into the mind of how I behave when I'm editing in the moment, in the workflow, and talking to clients. I've done that. I've done that. I spent like the better half of like 7 months in 2024 just pen to paper writing down my thoughts of how editing works, all because I started with thinking about how the hell do editing styles work? And then from then I just thought about how editing worked, and now I don't need to worry about that stuff. I just need to learn about what kind of problems other people are having that I didn't have, or I never got to experience, or just, and also just helping them with the problems that I did have. And I'm just better suited this way, right? I'm a lot more efficient when I'm not taking on work full time than when I am. And I stopped doing this about June of this year. So yeah, if you're not happy with that, and if you don't like the idea that a man is talking about editing despite not editing, then feel free to click off. I'm not gonna be bothered because I made this decision. And also I don't want to be I don't want to be one of those fucking bullshit people where I talk about how to make $1 million from editing, and then talk about how I do edit, but I actually don't. I'm okay to admit that I don't edit anymore. It is very time consuming when you add on to the fact that even this current business model is very time consuming, and I had to learn a lot. Coaching is not easy. When you want to actually get people results, and when you're very concerned with how things are going, it is not an easy job. And it's actually a lot more stressful than editing ever was. But I've learned to make it easier for myself. So yeah, second of all, moving on from that, if you have any questions about that, by the way, please do, leave a comment. I would much rather find out that people have an issue with this kind of decision or this announcement in the comments of my YouTube videos, rather than on forums where people are talking about me and they think that I can't read it, but I always find out. So please, ask me anything. I'll happily respond. Second of all, YouTube, let's talk. Let's be serious for a second. What the hell is this, right? What the hell is this? I uploaded 20 videos this year. This channel has been up for about 2 years, right? 2 years. Okay, wow, more than 2 years. Am I crazy? No. About 2 years, right? And I've uploaded 60 videos, 20 of which came out this year. What the hell was I doing? Very inconsistent. Something that I really plan to change. Like you can see, and at some point I had this weird phase where I saw the kind of how well this video did. And I was just like, yeah, let me just go Sigma mode and hire a thumbnail designer and stuff like that. And I actually hired some editors. I spent about $3,000 on 2 or 3 different editors. I think one of them was just for a more simple style like this, but the other 2 I spent on some serious editing. It never got uploaded because they were really incompetent. They didn't upload on time. They promised 3-day delivery, took 2 weeks to do 1 minute of editing, and I was really disappointed. And I realized that there's a big problem with delivery in this market. People are over promising and under delivering. So I was just and then I finally got some clarity. I was like, I need to stop doing this because this made me hate uploading YouTube. Seriously, I hate doing this kind of, authoritarian, Sigma Imam Gadzi type beat. I prefer doing this simple stuff. This was my favorite video that I uploaded because I was really scared to talk about this stuff. I thought people would say either this is just stupid, you're overthinking, or maybe just they thought they didn't need it. But the response seems to be pretty positive. Some stuff like this, some stuff like this. Some people didn't like it, but that's natural. I'm not gonna argue against that. But yeah, I really enjoyed making this. It seems like people enjoy this type of content more. I think this is the kind of best stuff that I've been making. And if you guys want to see more, then yeah, then do let me know. Because right now I've actually got like a few more student interviews, but I don't want to upload them until I actually get some real content out there. So yeah. And then next up, I wasted a lot of time, right? Perfect example, we're 10 minutes into this video. I've only showed you 3 points, right? But I wasted a lot of time focusing on like the small details of, service delivery, because this is like the number one thing I prioritize, and I always have, mostly just because out of insecurity. Like, I hated the idea of people not liking what I put out. And I used to like when I started YouTube, I used to read comments about me, and I used to, read Reddit forums and Discord forums about me, and it just ruined my mental health. And I mean, it didn't actually ruin my mental health, but it just kind of, it was just a waste of time. And then I started to like overthink and prioritize on the stupidest of details. Like, for example, even this year, like, I kind of stopped uploading for a while just because I didn't like the the way that I looked, or the fact that I've been in the same bedroom for about 2 years, and I've been looking for a flat, like apartment, for like 8 months. So yeah, not a lot of fun. But yeah, I wasted a lot of time focusing on the small details of life that just don't really matter, rather than just taking big action on things that I just wasn't super focused on, like the main priority. Next up was making decisions based on emotion. Like, I used to operate pretty much on logic, and then I got into this weird phase where I started changing things up. I started outreaching, and then I stopped outreaching, and then I started, you know, throwing out emails, and then I stopped doing emails, and it just felt super weird and super like it just led me to the wrong places. I spent I spent maybe about $45,000 on like courses and coaches and programs and consulting calls and audits and reviews, and only like 15,000 out of that 45,000 was necessary and actually helped. The other 30 was just out of emotion and ego, and it was silly, and I wasted a lot of money. So yeah, definitely need to stop doing that next year. And then number 5 is negligence. So just being very neglectful of my health, my friends, my family, my own time, my own, I guess, just kind of self-respect. Like, bro, I wasted a lot of time this year. And I kind of forgot what standards were, and I stopped doing like my alchemy of self, which is the number one thing that kind of helps me to keep to stay grounded. It's this tool, it's whatever, it's this tool that I use, but yeah, it just really helped me stay grounded, and I stopped doing it because I got cocky, and that wasn't fun. Anyways, yeah, and then moving on to the wins of this year: successful program launch. Right, we got a lot of awesome results. I definitely spent a lot of time this year. Like, again, I swear to God, I'm not here to sell you anything, but we helped out a lot of people this year. And it got to a point where I kind of don't really react when people tell me about how much money they make, mostly because I'm not really in it to show you how to make money. I'm in it to show you how to make better editing. But making money is just a byproduct of good editing. But yeah, like, we got a lot of stuff done, and I'm just really like, it boggles my mind that some people can kind of change aspects of their life because of some stuff that I say to them. And yeah, I was just super happy because I was seriously lost after editing. I needed something more challenging to do. For a while I worked with my old client, and I was just like, okay, let's see how successful I can be with YouTube, obviously editing it, without VFX, without sound design, without color correction, just raw narrative. I neglected everything else, and it worked. It actually worked out really well. Like, we got like a lot of comments, like high retention. It was like 36-minute video, and I was getting like 40, maybe 50% retention, just under 50% to be honest. But yeah, it worked out, and I was like, okay, so I understand it now. I get the game, but it just wasn't really enjoyable. I kind of understood everything I needed to understand, and the program was a good challenge for me, right? On top of that, it helped me to find a purpose, which I didn't have before. I was kind of a bit lost. I worked with all the creators that I wanted to work with, and I think I kind of realized this after Ali. Yeah, no, I can say that. Ali. And because I was a big Ali fan when I was a kid. I watched his like Minecraft Let's Plays and stuff. I watched his, his COD videos, and he was really cool to work with. And yeah, I just kind of after him, I just kind of realized, damn, I've kind of done it all. Everything that I wanted to do and more, and I kind of just lost motivation to edit and to do that stuff full time. Again, I'll still dabble in and try out some new stuff and create some new stuff, but I've kind of understood everything that I need to, and I've helped out a lot of people with it, and it's obviously it's proven to work. So yeah, there's just kind of no need for that, and now I just want to help editors, not even just with program, with paid stuff, like with on this YouTube channel. Like I want to start using this more. I stopped getting as many DMs from people telling me about how much they these videos have helped with their lives and stuff, because I just stopped doing YouTube overall. But I used to get a lot of DMs, and I miss that. So I want to start helping people more with these YouTube videos by making them even better. So yeah, next up was 100k in 8 months. That was pretty cool. There was also my first 20k month, but I kind of worked I worked myself to the bone to get there, so I didn't really put it down as a win, but I guess that was also cool, I guess. But let me just tell you this, money isn't everything, and it's definitely not worth sacrificing your time, health, and sleep over. Like I spent the first 4 months of this year having made like $6,000. So $6,000 from the program, bear in mind. Like I did make around 10k from editing, but that was only after like 3 videos or so. So yeah, like I kind of just stopped. Bonuses included, by the way. Like it's not like I got paid like 3.3k for every video, but it was bonuses included. So yeah, like 14k from the first 4 months, 10 of which came from editing, 4 came from the program, and then I just locked in all in the program. And then in 8 months I did about 100k, which is pretty cool. And then I got to a point where I'm getting awesome results, good money, but I need to learn how to make this thing a lot more automated. So I'm building new stuff to help editors succeed without me. Because yeah, like I've obviously not got the best workflow, and I just need to learn how to do that in this new business model. And then finally, family, right? I've definitely spent more time with family this year. I told myself I was going to do that last year in 2024, and I didn't. Glad to say that I did so this year. Cousins, nephews, great to talk to people again. But yeah. Now, as for my plans for next year, well, you've seen everything, doesn't matter. Hire and scale, I'm just gonna keep this quick. I've been doing everything myself for this entire year, and I can't balance life with business if I don't have some people to help me with it. Like this new model is different to editing, and it's made me realize how easy editing is and how I took it for granted. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more responsibility, and if I want to be able to continue to deliver to people and have as good of a result rate as I do, like we currently have a 68% result rate. No, it's more than that. We've got 2 more people who've just gotten results, like tangible results. So it's probably more than that, more than 68%. But 10 of those people like just joined. So I think if we think about the time span, it's about like an 88%, maybe 85% result rate. So if I want to keep doing that, I've got to get people to help me with YouTube and with emails and with people to tweet for me and stuff, and for people to help me with getting things automated, getting an assistant or something. But yeah. Number two is more calculated risks. I spent about like 45 grand on courses, 15 of which helped, 30 of which was just out of ego and this silly mindset. And that's why calculated is a key word here, because it needs to be calculated rather than just a stupid risk that has, almost no upside and a huge downside if it doesn't go well. So yeah, like risk taker is definitely, because every time I take risks, calculated risks, and they work out at such unbelievable asymmetric, like unparalleled. How do I break this down? Big returns, super high ROI. Like I'll put in, one time I put in like 1K into a consulting call and like to speak with a guy for 40 minutes, and I got it was like 1.3 anyways, around 1K, and then I got back like 8K from what he told me, and yeah, like I just remember that being like, man, I need to do this more, I need to take these risks more. And then I did more. I spent more money on contractors and again consultants to help me out, and yeah, out came from the 15K, out came like 40K, and then the other stuff I kind of lost money on, but that's the whole point of risks, is that we learn. So yeah, like playing on safe mode isn't going to get me anywhere. I definitely need to take more risks, especially as an entrepreneur. Number 3 is consistency in intent. We gotta get these uploads up, right? We gotta stop dicking around. We gotta start uploading a bit more consistently. This is the number one thing I want to be a bit more consistent in. And yeah, like also I kind of with the gym, like I was really doing super well. I got to a point where like my bench I was getting really lean. My chest was getting like a lot bigger. I was doing like 90 kg for reps, like 3 sets, which I'm not even bullshitting, but now I can maybe just do about like 80, maybe 70, 75, and that's sad, right? I've definitely gotten weaker because I haven't been to the gym in about a month, which leads me to my next point: health. I've seriously I genuinely don't think I've been ever prioritizing health for like a whole year straight. I don't think I've ever done that. I've actually neglected it for the longest time, and because I spent so much time in this fucking room, just building and planning, I just feel like like a shell of a man and a bit of a pussy, and overall seriously neglected my health, which I'm gonna improve on. And I've had comments about it as well. People were like asking me like, dude, are you okay? You look sick, you look unwell, you look like you're just going through something. And I'm like, well, I didn't know it was that obvious. But yeah, health. And also don't forget that, before you think about staying up all night to edit that video, go to bed, bro. It's not worth it. Seriously, it is not worth it. Don't stay up. Don't do that stupid thing with your friends. Just go to bed, rest, and get up in the morning. And yeah. Number 5 is to learn about what I want. I'm at this weird point where I'm back to making that kind of 10K mark again, but this time with a new business, like 10K per month and stuff, and a little bit more, and that's pretty cool. But I'm now stuck at this point where I don't know what I want again, because we've already helped like a lot of people, like not a lot, but for the amount that we did, I feel like we've gotten a lot of results. And like the kind of people that we've helped, like the kind of clients that they've landed, like, dude, Mr. Beast. We helped like 1 or 2 guys get with Mr. Beast and land Mr. Beast as a client, and all of these guys. And it just feels so insane to see, my teachings being found on these channels. And I've already worked with like a lot of these guys, but it's still like so insane to see, me just being able to tell someone something, and then it helps them so much to the point where they're applying it into these channels and landing these clients. So I already feel like I kind of did a good job, but now I kind of got to go. I've got to think bigger. I've got to think about what I want. Do I want to build like this big, super monstrous empire of editing? Or do I just want to be, kind of chill back, think more about my health and my friends and what I want? Like, I just turned 21. I turned 21 about a few days ago, like 3 days ago. And this has really been weighing on me. So now I've got to kind of think about that. Like, this might relate with you. This kind of might. Words? Hello? This might resonate with you as well, a bit because, like I know a lot of editors are quite young, and we often get caught up in this 10K per month race, and trying to flex and show off to everyone. But ultimately, when you get there, I guarantee you're gonna feel super, super, super empty. As I did, like the first 10K month I made was when I was 18, and I just worked myself to the bone. I experienced burnout, and I just felt empty. I just didn't care about it afterwards. I was like, that was not worth it. And the same thing happened with my first 20K month. I got to like 24K, 25K, and I worked myself to the bone. I experienced burnout again. Like, that's the only 2 times I've ever experienced burnout. And I just had to stop working for about like a month and a half. Actually like 2 months really. And I had no pride in that 20K month either. I only feel pride when I can hit good numbers with minimal work, because then that means like that's where the consistency is, that's where the floor is, that's when it starts getting easy for me, right? That's what I'm proud about, not about like how hard can I push myself for 1 month, because who the fuck am I helping? So yeah, you guys got a lot about what you want. Because you can seriously build a life around editing, and editing can help you to, have time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, and I've just completely forgot about all of that stuff. I just focused on the numbers, and I focused on, what people thought about me, and I need to just stop thinking about that. I need to focus on like what kind of mission, what's going to fulfill me. I need to and I'm not going to just quit this business for another one. I've got to seriously think a bit more long term, because I've only been doing this for a year, and I've got to think about what I want. But yeah, so next up is getting my name out there. I met a lot of cool people. I met the guys who operate the like, I'm not gonna say the channels. But they were genuinely huge. Like, some of the biggest channels on YouTube, some of the biggest channels in like money YouTube, or this like the kind of finance stuff. And I was talking to all of them about like YouTube ideation and their editing and how to help them out. And a lot of them learned a lot, which was cool. A lot of them also were like, I'm pretty sure every single person I spoke to wants to learn a bit more about me. But when I got there, I was kind of like, I thought I would be this super cool person, this one-off, but fuck, dude, I met so many cool people. I met this guy who's a strategist, like a YouTube strategist, and that's all he does. He's just obsessed with YouTube. He doesn't like market, he doesn't focus on sales, he doesn't like optimize his copy or his outreach or his fucking content or whatever. He just chills. He tweets whatever he wants. He just works with whoever he wants, and he makes I'm not gonna say how much he makes, but he definitely makes more than me, right? And that just goes to show that like it really is all about quality. And of course, like he's got like more followers than me. People know who he is, but nobody knows who I am. I thought I was like hot shit when I was going there, but nobody knew who I was. And also, like, I ran into like a Hayden Hillier Smith, and I explained to him like my whole philosophy of editing and how I approach things, and the modern way of YouTube, and what I think he was wrong about. And he was like really interested to hear somebody kind of make these points. And again, he also like asked for my contact details, which was really cool. So thank you, Hayden. But yeah, I definitely want to do this. And YouTube, come on, we've covered this. I want to be less performative like this, whatever the hell this phase was, and I want to be more honest and make stuff like this. But ultimately, the answer is I'm going to be working on whatever people want me to make. But like, I just really hope it's not this, because I fucking hate this kind of content. I just think it's so fake, and it's so like how to make 10k per month and like 150k plus from editing. It's just like, why are we using big numbers for? You know, like, why are we like? It's true. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, never in my life did I think I'd be making content like this. I thought I'd be making content like this. Like, I like this stuff and this stuff. This is cool. This is nice content. I like this, and this is the exact kind of stuff that I would have watched, when I was starting out. It's just that nobody made it. Anyways, next up is pick up some kind of physical challenge. Fucking hell. I was playing literally like 2 days ago. I was playing with my niece and nephews, and fucking hell, I was exhausted. I'm still exhausted. My legs still hurt from, all the running around and picking up and stuff like that. Whether I do like a marathon or whether I like seriously change how I look physically and get into some crazy shape, or whether I pick up a sport, something has got to change, because I'm definitely washed up unk. So yeah. Finally, friends. I had a great time meeting my friends in like my editor friends and stuff in Vid Summit. Like, this was really cool. This was a great experience, and I definitely want to do it more often. And as for my friends in person, I spoke to them like every 3 months this year, and they kept like told me recently on my birthday, hey dude, like, we got to do this more often. Like, I don't like the fact that we only talk every now and then. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. And also, I spent my birthday a few days ago, like with like everyone that I wanted to, my nephews, my cousins, my friends, and it was like the first time I celebrated my birthday in about 7 years, and it was fucking awesome. And I definitely want to, spend time with friends more often. I don't think anyone's watching at this point, so I can say literally whatever. Why do I keep doing that? Number one, editing is easy. All right, so now we're going on to what I learned this year, and anything that might be able to help you. Number one, editing is easy, right? Shifting from editing to coaching was not an easy job. I thought coaching was gonna be easy. I started off with one-to-one coaching because I was like, someone told me to do it. Like, this guy called Andrew Kirby was just like, nah mate, do this first, learn this. And I was like, all right, fine. And I learned that editing is easy. It's a passion of mine, right? I love editing. I love talking about editing. And when you go from doing something that you love to something that you kind of feel like you have to do, it's not as easy. You lose motivation really easily. You lose obsession. You find it hard to become obsessed, and you need to create like motives for yourself to continue working. And even if it's just not that, it's like the management of things and the winning and the work operations. It's so easy. Like, not having any employees or having to worry about employees, and not having to be so T-shaped with business, and not having to learn so many things is just so easy. And it's fair to say that I took it for granted. Number two is going back to Stoic management. This kind of builds on the emotional decisions part. I used to be very like ruthless with how I operated, and I kind of lost touch of that this year. And it felt very soft. Like, I didn't know how to make the hard decisions. And I had to go back to look at some of my old videos, and it made me realize, like, damn dude, things have got to change. And I have to be willing to make the hard decisions and say no sometimes. So that's definitely something that I learned. And then number three is just be okay with sitting and doing nothing. I used to do this thing where sometimes I would just sit and do nothing. I would go to the park and sit and think nothing or do nothing. I would do it in my room. If I didn't want to watch or read something or do something, I'd just sit there and do nothing. And it gave my brain time and space to just absorb what it had learnt and how to properly move on without feeling super dizzy and overstimulated. And then I stopped doing that because I thought, well, someone's gonna catch up and beat me if I don't do something now. So I'll just pick up and I'll do some next random bullshit, like, optimize my website page, or pick up a new project, or start sending emails again, and then just to stop doing it, and then start doing YouTube videos just to stop doing it. And I need to be slower with my decision making, and be okay with just sitting and doing nothing, because it's not the end of the world if I don't work. Um, so yeah. Next up is burnout sensitivity. I got burnt out the second time in my life, and I don't know why I did it. Like I started making these decisions where I'd put myself in a really difficult position just to get back up. I did that 3 times this year, and although it is a good way to, push yourself to work harder, doing it too many times leads to burnout. I spent 9k on this one program, and I didn't even have 9k. I just put myself on this ticking time bomb where it would, take out huge chunks of money over time. So I forced myself to work, and it worked, but it was tiring. And then I did it again, and I did it again. And on the third time, that's when I made that 25k. I just got burnt out, and I didn't do any work for like months. So yeah, now I'm back to working, I guess. But yeah, like, I need to be more careful with what I do. I need to stop spending money to make money. Sometimes I need to be okay with just letting the money sit there. Like I said, out of that 100 grand that was made, maybe 70 of it was spent, or 60, somewhere between there. It just wasn't fun. And I honestly shouldn't be sharing these numbers, but it's whatever, right? What am I going to do? So yeah, be more sensitive to burnout and stop pretending that I have to be like this kind of sigma male that just works really fucking hard, and take a break, man. Because sometimes it is necessary. Not most times, but sometimes. But yeah. Next one is inputs do not equal outputs, right? It is more about the quality and the type of inputs rather than how much you do. I did a lot of work this year. I just mostly sat in this room and didn't leave. There was a point in time where I hadn't actually left my room for like a week, and it was disgusting. It was so depressing. But I was just working, and it, when the time came to kind of update people on what I've been working on, it just wasn't really as big as I thought. And I was like, damn, I just wasted 6 months for nothing, which isn't the case, but still, it was more about quality of inputs. It's not about like doing something. It's about like, what is it that you're doing? Like, what are the true needle movers here? But yeah, and this just kind of made me realize I've got to, like, sometimes sitting and thinking is much better than just taking action without thought. Actually, most times, maybe even every time. But yeah, definitely need to be okay with the idea of not rushing into things. And sometimes just thinking about what's going to help me move the needle best. Number 6 is do not judge, right? I used to be really judgy with this kind of group of editors, this community of editors, so to speak. And I learned that when you judge people publicly or internally, by judging people, you, number one, just project the insecurities of yourself, and number 2, you stop allowing yourself to behave in any way that you kind of would judge others for. So for example, if you look at like any bully in any movie ever, the bully is usually bullying some nerdy kid because the nerdy kid is trying in something, and apparently trying is a bad thing. So and then that's what you kind of learn to believe, and then you stop trying, and then you feel upset because you stop trying. And I used to like judge these people for like these editors because they were getting such small wins, I would say, but to them was big, and I, instead of like judging them, I should have celebrated. So what I did was I joined them for a call, and I kind of gave a bit of a, I don't know, like a session, a mentoring session. I taught them some stuff that I was teaching editors, and a lot of people kind of lost respect for me. A lot of people clown me for it, but that just kind of revealed to me the people who were still having problems with judgment. And then by them judging me, they stopped allowing themselves to act in certain ways. And yeah, like the first thing that I tell anyone when I start working with them is like, look, man, don't judge other editors, don't judge other people for trying, because that's just going to make life so much harder for you. So do not judge. And then number 7 is me time is the most important time. Like, you gotta take care of yourself if you really want to run a successful business. Um, like, and that doesn't mean you gotta take breaks all the time, but if your entire shtick, if your entire aim is to just work yourself to the bone and focus on deep work and shit like that, then life is gonna be hard for you all the time. And I've worked with so many editors this year who had that problem, and I immediately switched them from like this stupid mindset of thinking about over delivery and thinking about, working long hours, because ultimately, like, they can work like 4 hours a day or 3 hours a day, and still make more money, because again, it's not about inputs equals outputs. It's about quality of inputs to get the most outputs, right? So, why the hell would you edit a video for 8 hours a day if you can actually get away with 3 hours a day, and then focus on, improving the quality at the end of those, at the end of the day, right? Or maybe you just take the day off, right? So yeah, like, fucking, started taking up hobbies again, which I haven't been able to do in a long time, and I realized that there is more to life than just work. Number 8 is just shut up. I've been telling a lot of people my plans that I made. I told a lot of people that I was moving to Bali, and then I eventually canceled on Bali because I realized it was a mistake and a distraction. So, shut up and stop telling people your plans, which is kind of ironic, considering the video. And then number 9 is I am small time. I am actually, Vid Summit taught me that I'm actually a nobody, and I have nowhere near the impact on the editing scene as I thought I did. So time to work harder. And then number 10 is 2024 momentum. So in 2024, for like the second half of it, what I did was I just went to the local coffee shop every single day, and I sat down with my laptop and Google Docs open, and I just started writing about editing. I started writing about, why does this work, and why does that work, and why did I keep doing this, and what was I thinking in this edit, and this edit, and this edit, and this edit, until I just kind of understood editing at the very first principle. And what I did was I started writing about these super complex concepts and ideas that were not yet adopted by any YouTuber. And then I started teaching them. The problem was, this is where the editors were, this is where the plan was, and then you have this huge gap of problems in between that I did not address. And I was just taking them from there to there, but they needed to learn about how to do all of this stuff in order to get to here, right? This is like a luxury, but all of these are problems that have to be solved. And I started seeing YouTubers like Ryan Trahan. I think Ryan Trahan did it first, and then Mr. B started implementing them. I'm not going to say what they are, but they were these kind of concepts I was thinking about, and then they were adopted by these big YouTubers. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I guess I was kind of correct. But that's just that. Those are the next steps for those guys, the big guys. For every other regular editor, they've got like a long list of problems to solve. So it was very hard for me to do, but I had to just kind of scrap the entire momentum of 2024. Everything that I had built up, I kind of had to stop doing that. And start focusing on solving smaller problems first before jumping to that. And then, yeah, that helped big time. Like, a lot of people found that a lot more useful. And then I also have a worksheet for you to complete. So this is this is actually not the right one. Sorry, this is a different one. This is an annual review worksheet. So this is essentially to help you review the year. This is for both editing and not editing, right? This is to kind of help gauge your memory, to think about, like, what did you do well this year? What did you do better? And it gets into these really niche things. Something pretty cool that I picked up. But yeah, like, these were a lot of the stuff that I was thinking about this week. And it is going to be for free for you to download, or sorry, not even download, just copy. You don't have to like sign up to an email newsletter or whatever. It's literally just going to be like the Google Docs link down there. And yeah, fucking enjoy that, I guess. So yeah, like, and I would recommend doing it because if you wanna be able to quote unquote succeed, you've got to first define what success is, and you know that success is going to be defined by the goals that you set yourself, and the goals that you set yourself are going to be based on the problems and failures that you had this year, and to do that, you need to reflect, right? Next up is finally, what works with editing, right? What's been working with editing? What's not been working with editing? What mistakes have I made when it comes to talking about editing, and where do I think it's gonna go, right? So number one is unique. A lot of creators are focusing on their own unique voices. So if you're working with creators from like the earlier ranges, so anything under, let's say, 3 million subscribers in long form subscribers, um, you know, their goals are gonna be to like anything from 3 mil and above. I would say their goal is gonna be how can I be unique? How can I put my fingerprint on YouTube? How can I make people think this is me? And what they're gonna do is they're gonna demand specific editing styles. They're gonna ask you to use specific fonts and to make certain cut patterns and to use a set of music tracks that only they use, and music that isn't recognized elsewhere, and they're going to stop using epidemic sounds and stuff like that. So if you're working with creators above that, above that threshold, that's what's going to be helping you out. For anybody beneath 3 million subscribers, or maybe even if they have more than 3 million subscribers, but they focus on shorts, they're going to be going from shorts to long form. And a lot of people in long form are going to be going from long form to live streaming, because, that's where, audiences are best nurtured, is through the live events. So yeah, and anyone, under 3 mil in long form, what they're going to be doing is they're just going to be focusing on, the same old, just making sure that you get what you're doing, and you can adapt to the style that they're going for, which has probably been copied by somebody else. And, if you really want to make their videos better, you can just look at the niche leaders, the guys at the number one spot, copy them, apply them to your clients' videos, and then, either get scouted and hired by the niche leaders, or number two is just, make your clients super happy. So yeah. Number two is purpose. People are going to start thinking about, what does this actually do? Why am I actually watching this? Viewers are not stupid, right? YouTube's been around for a long, long time, and we are definitely in an attention economy, a huge attention deficit. So people are going to be thinking about exactly why does that video exist, and like what are we documenting? Like, a lot of people make very different videos. It's beyond just niche, right? Because even within niche, we cover different things. People spread different messages. People have different goals. Some people want to funnel into their products. A lot of people want to tell charming stories. A lot of people want to truly educate. A lot of people want to kind of alienate and create a cult, let's just say, right? People have different purposes for content, and the better you can kind of understand your client's goals, and the better you can understand your prospect and the people you're trying to close, the more they're going to stick with you. So yeah. And then number three is packaging and serving the idea. When I went to Vid Summit, the biggest thing that I learned, like, I was speaking to a lot of people. I spoke to a guy who was working with KSI. He wasn't an editor. He was like this manager. And I asked him, I was like, well, what are you guys doing when it comes to the editing? Like, seriously, I don't want to be a dick, but you guys seriously need to fix up, because this looks so 2022. And I mean, no offense if you are the editor watching this, because what he told me just kind of really shocked me. He was like, "Oh no, I'm well aware of how kind of retro, not retro, but like how kind of old our editing style looks. And we are gonna fix it, but just not now. Like we're gonna fix it later. We have just so many other things to fix. And then he kind of broke down their method for ideation and packaging, and he told me how he does it with every other client. And he just told me like how in depth it was, and this is where I learned about purpose, like the true depth in ideation for purpose, and leveraging new systems. And he was like, yeah, we're probably gonna fix that like way late. And I think to this day they still haven't fixed it, but like it's definitely gotten better, but like they're really taking their time and taking their steps because they know that packaging and the ideation is like 85% of the video, and they put so much more money and time into that, and so does every YouTuber. So if you think that editing is the number one pain point, it's not. The number one pain point when it comes to just, I guess, editors is, well, themselves, their deadlines, their service delivery, how they treat their clients, but retention is not the number one thing, right? And that kind of comes in, I think, a little bit later. So yeah, this is more important. You just need to learn how to deliver on the packaging and the intro and the idea. Number 4 is viewer experience. Again, 3 million and above, like big YouTubers are focusing on how to truly create an experience that people can remember. One of the I've watched some really, really, really good videos this year, and a lot of them were quite budget heavy, because it's all designed around viewer experience. People are testing new sets and new methods and new, I guess, like kind of retention settings, because it's all about like the viewer. And I thought I kind of dabbled into this idea at the beginning of the year, but I didn't really think about it until later on. So it's all about who watches these videos, and how can they keep watching more of them, and how can they how can they stick around for a while. That's what your clients want. And if you can somehow create higher session time, and a better viewer experience for your clients' viewers, and if you can understand your clients' viewers better than they do, well, you're going to be pretty hard to replace. Number 5 is retention. This stuff just doesn't really matter too much, to be honest. It's really on the lower end of the list, because people have gotten used to the retention stimulus. It's more about the thinking behind the idea, and again, it's more about like if you can just kind of deliver on these 3 things, or help your clients deliver on these 3 things, which you can do with editing, by helping them create their own stimuli and style, then you won't have to worry about retention. Number 6 is animation in the gutter. Like it's more about the animation purpose than it is about having animations full stop. So the next time you want to create like a slide in with a bunch of PNGs with the pop-in effect, understand it's no longer 2021. We've kind of got more advanced animations with a bit of a deeper, I guess, deeper meaning to it. And then next up is quality, and also back to 2022 model, right? So these two are kind of go hand in hand, but I back in like 2022, and 2023, really. Let me just put this. I just focused on quality. Like in 2022, the first half of it at least, I was really negligent of my clients. I was client hopping. I didn't care for their results or how they felt about the delivery. I just cared about myself and what I was doing and getting a higher price raise because I fueled my ego. And ultimately, I destroyed a lot of like client relationships, and I destroyed, a big part of my reputation, or what was being made of my reputation. And then I started taking things more seriously. I started working with clients a bit more long term. because instead of just just burning and churning through clients and landing new ones, I just thought, what if I just stuck with a few guys and actually focused on making good videos, which I eventually did, and it just served me really well. And then in 2023, I didn't really have to outreach. Like overall, the numbers from my just editing overall, 70% of my clients were inbounds and referrals, and like 30% were outreach. 30%. Like all just because I just focused on making better videos. So, it's really hard to outreach because, ever since this whole Imam Gadzhi blow up thing, there's been a huge wave of editors coming into the scene for the past 3 years. And what has happened is that people have gone into this whole marketing, like back to this .com marketing, guru-like outreach weird thing where they overpromise and stuff. And, people have started focusing on selling and, talking about sales calls and talking about, like you need to understand your clients and, you need to just get in the mindset of a salesman, like a total top 1% editor. And it's just like, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, honestly, and now trust is at an all-time low. Every time I spoke to like a YouTuber or somebody in Vid Summit, everybody was so fucking tired of editors. Everyone was like, yeah, they don't deliver. They're so expensive and nobody helps. Like, I met one guy who was like, oh, dude, I got the best editor. And I'm so thankful for him. Like, I gave him like I pay him $450 a video. But if if he asked, I would pay him $2,000. So, like, and that's only because he just really delivers. And I mean, he's going to save the money, but the guy seems to be happy with $450 per video. But yeah, like he's so grateful for his editor because he knows that everyone else is having a bad time with them. So now trust is lost. When you go to outreach, it's really difficult to trust you. Everyone has testimonials. Everyone has screenshots of their clients saying, good job, good video, I like the video. That doesn't matter, right? It's a lot. It is harder. Naturally, it's going to be harder in business. And this happens all the time, right? Like this is natural. You just got to learn to evolve. But yeah, like since 2022, things have gotten a bit bad because people have started focusing on selling, less on editing. So what I would do is go back to my model. Sounds really silly, but my model was in 2023 was just do good work and you're going to get a bunch of inbounds. And that's what I did. And it's so much easier for people to trust you, especially when you're niche down, if you just focus on making good work. And that's how like I'm seeing a lot of editors get their results. And yeah, outreaching is very difficult when you don't have a lot of clients to go off of. So seriously focus on service delivery this year. People's trust are at an all-time low. Quality, that's what matters. And then finally is sitting. What? Why did I write that? Anyways, moving forward. Pendulum of stimulus. So, we've had TikTok and short form and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts for a while now, and we've had the whole retention editing stuff. People are really sick and tired of it, and they just want to have something real. So that's why it's like completely okay to just have like boring videos. I'm still okay with doing this, but it swings with more broader markets. It swings a little bit slowly. When it comes to more niche videos, it swings a lot faster. So let me give you an example. With overall YouTube, the whole Mr. Beast style kind of died off, and it's gonna take a while to come back. Like, I think Mr. Beast himself has been focusing less on YouTube, and his channel kind of, I don't want to say died, but it's not pulling the numbers it used to do. So yeah, and people are kind of just tired of that, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be tired. That doesn't mean they're going to be tired of it forever. It'll probably take him like a year to get back on his feet because he has to kind of work up to when people start caring more for the overstimulating style, in opposed to what they care about right now, which is the raw, I guess a bit more of a raw style. You know, sometimes it won't be entirely raw, but it just won't be so over the top. Um, like a few examples would be like, um, Joe Bartolozzi. Like he gets, like, look at the views he gets, and all he does is react, and I watch him, and I love it. You know, this stuff pulls. But even like is it this guy? Yeah, these guys. You know, they just talk about AI, and there's a lot of editing, and they get a lot of views, but that doesn't mean that there's like a lot of like Mr. Beast level editing. Like this is quite a lot, for an intro, but even then it slows down at times, slower than Mr. Beast, and still, views upon views. But yeah, like it's gonna be, it's probably gonna be a lot more simple stuff, broadly speaking, until about 2020, late 2026, maybe like 2027, where things are gonna get a bit slightly more intense. People are gonna be like 3D is gonna be a more of a flat, it's gonna be kind of needed. People are starting to seriously implement 3D and hiring 3D artists. So if you haven't learned 3D, maybe take a look into learning it. People are paying good money right now, and it's definitely gonna be like necessary later on. So in late 2020, if you start learning now, by late 2026, you'll probably start making 10K per month just from 3D alone. Like we've already got like 2 people who've hit 10K per month just from 3D, in my program at least. So I think it's gonna be a more of a normal thing later down the line. But when it comes to like niche markets, so for example, with money channels and finance channels and consulting channels, like it used to be super over edited back in like 2022. After the whole uprise of Iman Gadzi, production was at an all-time high, and then production got way too high, and then people started caring about more like personalized content like this, right? So where somebody would kind of sit down and talk to the camera, or somebody would sit down on a whiteboard, or somebody would sit down on like a Miro or Figma board, and they would just talk. But then people started getting bored of that, because they were like, look, there's too many people doing this. It's obvious that it's just lazy content. And then people stopped doing this, but I, for some reason, continue to do so. But yeah, people stopped kind of caring for this style, and then people went back, to editing and full production. So full production, and then swing down and swing up and swing up and swing down, kind of like this in this motion. So yeah, we went from like in 2022 high editing, 2023 and 4 no editing, and then 2025 editing. And that's just how it works with like kind of niche markets. The same thing with Minecraft, where Minecraft back in 2022 and a bit of 2023 was about like pop-ins and animations, and then in 2024 and 5 it became more about probably the kind of camera views, I would assume. So I'm not too tapped into the Minecraft niche, but I'm just basing off of the kind of clients that are being the kind of clients that I'm talking to, and and also the clients in the program. But yeah, it's more to do with like building a good story, kind of like Ish. So Ish is another good example of good content. This guy just made a video with Mr. Beast, but he makes like these awesome videos, right? I'm probably gonna watch this one later on, but he makes these awesome videos, and yeah, like, am I crazy? No, this is his channel. Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, so people are trying to do more of this because it obviously works. Another one is a guy called, I know him. Is it Grux? This guy. So it's a bit more unique. His thumbnail style has obviously been copied plenty of times. And it's less of like the kind of animations and PNG animations and pop-in animations that used to be, right? And when it's market specific, when it's niche specific, it swings faster. When it's overall YouTube, it swings much slower because there's more people, there's more data, there's more things to consider. But yeah, so that's about everything, you know, from being honest about YouTube and kind of where I've been and my plans, what I'm going to do, and things that I've learned that you could probably help as well. Look, whether someone actually watches this and probably cares, or, you know, whether people do or do not resonate with this, it doesn't really matter to me too much. I mean, it would be great, of course, but again, this is why I did this, and even if it went over like an hour long, whatever, man, like what can you do, really? So yeah, either way, I hope you enjoyed, you know, hope you learned something, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.